Hey everyone, this is Nate and this is the Nader Tater channel. Alright, today I'm going to talk about two different robotic lawnmowers that have a unique feature that almost every other robotic lawnmower does not have. And that is a trimmer to trim the side. So I've tested lots of mowers. This is just a small number. I think I have about a dozen of them that I'm testing all year long, all summer. And if you know anything about the robot mowers, they do have a big downside to them, and that's that they often do not trim all the way up to the edge of the mower itself. So if it drives along something like a wall or a landscape curb, it can't get all the way up there, and it's because the blades don't go all the way to the end. And I'll show you that here on this guy. This is a Segway Navimow, and if you look here, this blade inside of here, this has these little razor blades, which when they swing, they stick out. But you can see here, there's a solid foot of space almost between the edge of that blade and the edge of this. Now on this side it's a little bit closer, but you're still several inches away from where the mower can drive. So you end up having to trim a lot of areas that you can't overlap. Now for me, on places like this driveway where I can have the mower drive on the driveway, it's not a problem. I can just cut all the grass around along the edge. But in other places, then you can't do it. So up along a fence and that kind of stuff. So they've tried to solve this here. This is a complex challenge for these mowers to solve. And the only two that have tried is Segway on this Navimow. This little side pod extension, it was like $320, I think, to get this guy and plop it on here. So I'm going to test that out. You can see I've already been testing it. That's why it's all dirty and nasty. And same thing with this Yarbo. This is a Yarbo core unit, and then they have different attachments you can put on it. So you can put snow blowers and leaf blowers and stuff on it. But this is their new Lawnmower Pro module that actually has hard blades. So it doesn't have a little razor disc. It actually has metal blades like a more typical lawnmower has. So this is what I have on the front of it. But then the back is this new contraption, I call it that, is the Yarbo trimmer. So this one, I forget the MSRP price. It's not quite out to be released. I think it's really coming out in the winter or spring time frame. Don't quote me on that. But this is a prototype unit that I got. You can see here it has like a 3D printed part. This is something that if it runs along the ground, it has a nice curved surface to hit on. That's not production intent. I guess it's a prototype right now to get that to function, but they're going to come out with a production solution to that. But what's really cool about this unit here is the Yarbo has these plugs that you can add these attachments. So this is just one of the rear attachments you can put on it. You can see it's powered here. It has spring loaded adjustments. You can adjust it between 2 inches, 3 inches, and 4 inches. So it has 3 height settings. And then again, it floats up and down. So if you hit a ditch or whatnot, it's supposed to float along with that. And then the other cool feature about it is that it has breakaway. So as you drive along something, this can pull back, and going forward too, it has a sensor. So this whole time when it's doing that, it's measuring that sensor, and it drives autonomously. And if it feels that this is swinging back, it knows that, and it's going to be careful not to turn into it more. So once this is on, its logic for auto mapping and auto driving changes with the trimmer on. So this unit can trim with the trimmer at the same time that it's mowing. So if you have an area kind of like I have here where I have a wood line, I can be cutting the grass like I would normally, and I can also be having the trimmer cut as it's going along. So I don't have to go back and trim later. It's able to do it all in one maneuver. The Segway Navimow is definitely different. Let me show you how that one works. All right, so here's the Segway Navimow. I'm going to put the trimmer attachment on it. It has a side port here that has a little cover that pops off. That just comes off, and it actually has a little port in there that this plugs into. All right, so out of the box it comes all assembled. You get a thumb screw that gets to attach it. It has these little rollers on the side, and then it has a kind of a standard spool attachment. Now it comes with a spring in there, and then it has 4 replacement strings. Now you can use your own. You can wind these up with kind of a refill string if you wanted to, or you can buy them kind of pre-packaged like this. All right, so now I'm going to take this out and go ahead and send it through the hole here so it actually works.
Okay, so that looks like it's about the right length. It's a little bit on the long side, which is good because it'll be trimmed off here. So that snapped in. Now it has a, not quite a razor blade, but it has a little cutting edge there that when this spins around, it trims it to the right size. So let's just slide this into the port here. Okay, and then we take this thumb screw and put that in.
Connected.
There you go, you could hear it said connected. So it recognized that it has the trimmer. Now on the instructions it says you can store this on the base station, but my base station looks different than what they're showing, so I don't see where this gets attached to the base station anywhere. Unless it's, yeah, I don't see where it gets attached there. Alright, so I'm going to open up the Navimow app. Alright, so it recognizes it needs a trimmer firmware update. So we'll go ahead and get that downloaded. Also, I have to put it on the charging station. Alright, we'll give this a shot. This is my first time doing this trimming stuff. So I'm going to change it to normal for speed. And now I can slide this up and hold it. That will start the trimmer. It doesn't appear that there is a height setting on it from what I can tell. I do have some other settings here for the layout of the screen and backwards. So the right side, this little thumb wheel, is what allows me to drive it forward and backwards. So I can do it manually, or I can go to this auto button and it's going to trim. Let's see why it won't let me. I guess I have to get closer to it. There it goes. Okay. So I have to get set up on the edge, and I can hit auto, and then I can change. I want to have it go past the boundary, but now I have to hold the trimmer myself. And I'm telling it to go all the way to 0 or minus 0.8 inches, but I don't even think it's doing that. Let's see what it's doing here. So it's automatically steering and driving the unit, but I have to hold my thumb on the trimmer to have it trim, which, quite frankly, I think I could just go grab a hand trimmer and do it if I have to do this. Because I have to be within Bluetooth range this whole time, so I have to follow this thing around. Now I can try to go faster and see how fast it goes here. So maybe it's a little bit faster, but again, it's not really going to solve my problem, I don't think, with this trimmer. And then the string, yeah, this is not really doing what I want it to do. And the mower's obviously trapped. So let's try to help it out here. Have it go again. Do this. Alright, let me try to run it up against the fence and see how it does along the fence. Okay, so we're going to go to 0 inches. I'm going to make it go slower. I don't know why there's no pause. Okay, well, it seemed to work better along the fence line, I guess, because it's using the vision to figure out. But man, this thing is certainly messy, and it obviously covers up one of the side cameras. So I guess it's, I don't know how it's using its cameras now on the side. Okay, so it worked better for sure along the fence line. I don't really fully understand the point of it though, because it requires me to be within like 10 feet of the thing and hold my thumb over this. So for my yard with 3.6 acres, there's no way I'm going to be following this thing around at its pace with my phone out to do that. So I would just use my own weed whacker, or I would run around with a mower where I could and just hand do some of the areas that it doesn't do. So the other thing that's crazy to me is that I can't mow with it on there. So I have to take the trimmer on and off of the unit because when I'm in this mode, it only trims and doesn't mow. So that doesn't make any sense to me. So this one seems a little gimmicky to me.
Alright, so I have Taterbot here, the Yarbo, and I'm going to add on the back mount brace as well as the trimmer that goes in the rear, and then we'll see how well this string trimmer works to clean up after it's or during when it's actually mowing. You can mow and trim at the same time. Alright, so I can use the app and just drive it forward here. Should be good. Alright, so here is the back brace mount, and it comes like this assembled, and I can just see here that the little tow hitch hookup is in the back there, and then this just slides down and it's going to attach up here to 2 bolts I have to take out. So I took off the battery cover, and I should be able to just take this off here and see if it slides up and aligns itself. Alright, it's a little tight, snug fit, which feels good. Okay, so the bolts I took out are too short to reach back in there, so I was looking around for them. I found them in this other box with the trimmer itself. So these are the longer bolts that I need to go from the back brace mount to the core. Alright, so that was pretty easy. It feels rock solid. You know, I had to manhandle it a little bit to get it to fit in there. It's a tight squeeze, but then just screw those in. Now, this cover doesn't clip back over this. I'm assuming I either have to trim it. I haven't seen any instructions on that part yet. Alright, so this is the trimmer module. This thing is a beast. It is pretty hefty, and it is spring loaded here. It's got a flip up here. It's got a pin. You can see it has a single string output, and then it has the little cutter here. This spins, obviously. This is a little guard for it, and then this top piece also is designed to roll against whatever surface it might go up against, and then because it's spring loaded, as it hits something, it will roll off of it, and then it actually has a sensor that detects how much this is getting deflected here, and so it will control the robot to make sure that it is acting properly there with where it's going. So let me get this hooked into place here. I see there's a couple slots that I put in, and then I got a couple bolts that I aligned. So I'm going to go in here, put these slots in, and then it looks like I need to grab the bolt right away.
All right, so for Yarbo for the trimmer setup, I can enter my yard. Now you can see I've already set up some of these trimmer actions, but I can just go to edit the map. But the yellow lines are areas that I have it trimming. The gray lines or boundaries are places where it's not trimming. So this is very adjustable. You can easily edit after the fact. So I can go in here. I'm just going to go down to this one area here, and then I hit this little swirly sign, and that's the trimmer sign. So now you can see on this one I don't have any no-go zones. I just have the boundary. If I had a no-go zone, I could also do it on that. If you wanted to trim the whole thing, you just hit draw all and you're done. If you don't want to do that, you can pick areas as little as 3 feet piece. If I try to do like a little 1 foot thing, it'll tell you, nope, you got to do 3.3 feet or longer. But other than that, you can adjust these. You can have as many as you want, as many of areas as you want in there, and save it. So it's super easy.
So the Segway Navimow one doesn't make nearly as much sense to me because you can only trim with it when the trimmer's on, and you have to take the trimmer back off in order for it to mow. So it's almost pointless because you also have to be walking alongside of it as you're trimming in order for it to work. So it's basically just a remote controlled weed whacker that doesn't have nearly as much maneuverability or speed to it because it's slow. So I don't think there is a situation that I could recommend the Segway Navimow trimmer. It makes no sense to me. It's a complicated add-on that takes a mower that the mower is actually pretty good. It's decent. It has both GPS and RTK, and it does a good job of going out. It does get stuck and stuff like that, but I won't get into those details here. On the Yarbo, the trimmer itself is a much better design, but the downside to it that I have seen is that obviously this mower is already large, and so for me it's not bad because most of my yard is very large, about 4 acres that I cut here. But any of the tight areas, now it even has more trouble to get around because it knows that it has this attachment stick off the back. So how much of a radius that it has to turn or back it up, it has to be more cautious, and therefore it's just less maneuverable. The other thing that I found is that there have been some times in some very aggressive ditches, which I really loved about the Yarbo because it always can tackle them with its tank tracks. With the trimmer attached, there have been times that it bumps into that, and then it will even do this and go backwards, and it will trip, it'll trip the limiter on there, and make it, say that it gets stuck, and I can easily go in the app and move it forward. And that's probably something they're going to fix with the software. But the other downside I did see that it did do once, or a couple times really, is on inside corners. If you're coming up and you're doing a left turn on an inside corner, that's where when it turns left, the rear trimmer swings out. So it goes forward. It's actually pretty cool. They have the logic built in that if it has a trimmer, it goes into that corner nose first, it goes backwards, and then goes forward again to try to cut the grass with the mower, and then it backs back up, and then it has to do a big radius to get in there. But right now, with the way that I have it tuned, I have had it miss some patches of that inside grass. I think that's just tuning work on their software to get that dialed in, so I have confidence that's going to come in the future. And then the trimmer itself does work. It seems to be pretty strong, and it does have the auto line feed that it sends out, and then this disc here can rub up very easily against any kind of surface. It doesn't damage the surface. It's a soft enough spring that it just pushes away and doesn't damage anything, so that's pretty cool. That said, if you're up tight against something that's very intricate, it's harder for it to get super precise. So where it's done the best for me is a straight line or fairly straight line, and it has to trim down the whole thing. It does pretty good for that. If I have a tiny little sapling tree and I want to trim around it, it's pretty hard because it can't drive and keep this. It can't do a zero turn around this point. It does a zero turn kind of more around the center of the machine. So from that aspect, in order for it to do a small tree and to drive around it, it takes a while. It's very cumbersome. But I have to give a huge amount of credit that they're able to autonomously drive this thing with that trimmer. And if that doesn't work, if you don't like the way that it drives autonomously, then there is a follow path feature. So with the trimmer, you can tell it, drive this exact path that I just learned, and it will do that with a trimmer. So lots of cool features. That's my favorite thing about the Yarbo. That's why the Yarbo is by far my favorite yard machine, is because of all these little features and settings that you can mess with. It makes it more complicated, so it's maybe a little bit more of a you know, integrated hobby that you have to really get into it to mess with it. But then you can get it to do some really cool stuff. So that's why I like the Yarbo machine. I'm excited to see the trimmer come out, and they have more attachments coming out in the future. So stay tuned. I always try to get them as early as I can so I can test them and show them to you guys. So if you're interested in buying the Yarbo, or actually any of these machines, look down below. I do have links, referral links that help you get the best deals, as well as give me a referral kickback if you do purchase the unit. So thanks for tuning in. Hit that like button, consider subscribing, and then we'll see you next time.